long before supply chains, standardized kits, and backup batteries. Warriors survived by assuming that equipment would fail. Ancient fighters did not expect resupply. They planned for loss, breakage, weather, and isolation. What they carried mattered far less than what they knew how to do. That mindset is the foundation of real preparedness, and it translates cleanly into modern survival. Ancient warriors crossed deserts, mountains, forests, and coastlines with minimal gear, not because they were reckless, but because excess equipment slowed movement and created dependence. A heavy load made a fighter vulnerable. A simple load, paired with practice skills, created resilience. Preparedness began before the journey. Training was the first piece of kit. Warriors were conditioned to operate while hungry, cold, tired, and injured. This wasn't bravado. It was risk management. They understood that discomfort was inevitable and that panic under stress was deadlier than any enemy. For modern survival, this means practicing skills when conditions are inconvenient. Learn to make fire in rain, navigate when visibility is poor, spend time outdoors without perfect comfort. Skill degradation under stress is real, and ancient warriors trained to reduce it. Cutting tools were, really, extensions of the hand. Almost every warrior culture carried a blade, but, interestingly, not as a weapon first. It was a tool. Blades processed wood, repaired equipment, prepared food, and built shelter. They were simple, durable, and maintainable. Fancy designs were avoided because they broke and couldn't be repaired in the field. Today, the lesson is not about carrying a specific knife, but knowing how to use a cutting tool for multiple tasks. Splitting wood safely, shaping stakes, processing cordage, and maintaining the edge matter more than the brand or design. Fire knowledge replaced fire gear. Ancient warriors understood fire as a system, not a spark. They knew where to find fuel in wet conditions, how to protect flame from wind, and how to maintain coals over time. Fire provided warmth, morale, cooking, water treatment, and signaling. These days, survival advice often, puts too much focus on ignition tools. The ancient lesson, though, is really about choosing the right fuel, placing your fire carefully, and conserving what you've got. Honestly, knowing how to coax a flame from poor materials and, keep it going matters a whole lot more than just carrying several lighters. When it came to shelter, it was really about the terrain, not so much the materials. Warriors, more often than not, didn't actually carry shelter with them. Instead, they learned to read the land. They'd position themselves out of the wind, above the cold air, and away from places that might flood. Cloaks, hides, and whatever natural features were around did the rest. Movement, too, was planned, so they'd end up near ground that was both defensible and sheltered. So, for modern survival, all this kind of means you need to learn where to stop, not just what to build. A bad shelter in the wrong place is, bound to fail. But a minimal shelter in the right spot, that can really make all the difference. Honestly, it's location that saves energy and lives. Navigation skills prevented disaster. Ancient warriors did not wander. They memorized routes, landmarks, and seasonal patterns. Rivers, ridgelines, stars, and the position of the sun guided their movement. Getting lost was simply unacceptable. Modern reliance on GPS, it creates fragility. The ancient approach was all about constant awareness, knowing where you are, where you came from, and where water and shelter lie in relation to you. It really reduces panic and wasted movement. Water discipline, honestly, mattered more than containers. Sure, containers existed, but warriors prioritized conservation. They traveled during cooler hours, rested in the shade, covered their skin, and avoided unnecessary exertion. Water sources were memorized and carefully protected. Modern survival often focuses on filtration alone, but, the ancient lesson is behavior. Movement timing, pacing, and exposure management preserve hydration more effectively than any device. Repair skills kept equipment alive. Nothing was disposable. Warriors repaired footwear, clothing, weapons, and containers repeatedly. Simple sewing, binding, and lashing extended life indefinitely. Today, this means learning basic repair. Fixing a tear, relashing a handle, or sealing a leak can be the difference between inconvenience and failure. Mental discipline was the true advantage. Ancient warriors trained their minds as much as their bodies. They understood fear, fatigue, and overconfidence as enemies. They conserved energy, avoided unnecessary risk, and accepted patience as a weapon. Modern survival scenarios often fail when people rush overexert themselves or chase after solutions instead of taking the time to stabilize. The ancient habit of deliberate action, well, it remains absolutely critical. So what does this mean for modern preparedness? True preparedness isn't really about abandoning your gear, but rather about reducing your dependence on it. Carrying less actually forces you to develop your skills. Practicing without tools, honestly, it reveals the gaps in your knowledge. Ancient warriors survived because they assumed loss was inevitable and, well, they prepared accordingly. In modern survival, skills weigh nothing, they don't break, and they simply cannot be taken away. Gear supports your skills, but, skills can replace gear when it fails. If you want to prepare the way humans always did, through knowledge, restraint, and practice, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and share this with others who understand that real survival begins long before equipment ever enters the picture.